Conversations. I am your host, Douglas Gutierrez, and today I have a very special guest, Dr. Dana Litt. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. I see you brought some additional guests with you today.
Yes, this is Fred and this is Ethel, and they are about 9 weeks old, and they are from the Fort Worth Animal Shelter.
Dr. Litt, to start us off, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Could you share your perspective on why individuals need to take an active role in maintaining their mental health? And what are some practical everyday steps people can take to support their emotional well being?
Yeah, and so I think it's really important for people to really be like aware of and really kind of be like empowered to think about their own like mental health. We know that when you're like engaged and like empowered, that you are more likely to be able to like recognize maybe when things don't like feel as good, when things are off,
Mm,
when like you're not yourself. And so the like sooner that you're like aware of that, then that's like more likely that you can like reach out to like friends, family, services, and get the like resources that you need. In terms of like steps to take, I think one is just kind of like mindfulness and just like really like being thoughtful about like what are like the ways that I'm feeling like right now.
mm,
Is like this the way that I like want to feel? Is this maybe like not a way that I like
mm.
want to be feeling? And then from there, that's when it's like really ideal if you can like find someone to like speak with, whether it's like a like friend or like family. And I think part of that too is really trying to stay like connected. And so
In what way?
so connected to your like friends, your family, community, people like around you is a
Okay.
really important way to like support your like mental health. There's a lot of like research to show that people that have like more like social support are
Mm,
then more likely to feel better, but they're also then more likely to like seek out help.
right, because they're surrounded by immediate people they can see, if body language speaks a lot.
Mhm.
I think it actually, the nonverbals speak more than the verbal sometimes because anyone can lie and deceive. But if you can see in someone's eyes, you can see in their mannerism, if you can just tell by their attitude
Mhm.
that they're not having a good day, you can kind of pick that up.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think sometimes like maybe like we don't feel like we like maybe like need the support, like we aren't sure, and just kind of like speaking with someone can like sometimes be the like thing that you need to really like empower you to say, you
Hmm.
know what, like I like should go like speak to someone.
I remember one time I was going through one of my little rough patches, and it was actually a stranger, just some random guy I met at a Buffalo Wild Wings where we had to watch a fight. It was one of the UFC cards. I think Tom Aspin was fighting, and we could only get inside if we got a table. And we both kind of looked at each other and was like, "Hey, dude, want to share a table?" And never met this guy ever in my life. And after about a good 5-10 minutes of just kind of sitting in the same
Yeah.
proximity, we started talking, and then he started talking to me about some marital problems he was having. And it was just pretty interesting how a complete stranger can say the right thing at the right time, not have it planned. And it's just, I don't believe in coincidences, but I do believe everything has a purpose.
Mhm.
And just to have someone hear me, and I believe for him as well, to have someone listen to him and give him honest feedback from the outside in or outside looking
Yeah.
in,
I
I think
also
plays a huge role in terms of, that connectedness you were
Mhm.
speaking of. I think it's interesting that sometimes it doesn't come from your inner circle. It
Mhm.
comes from a random thing you see on the internet,
Mhm.
something on the street, or a stranger
A
you
movie, a
walk,
show, yeah.
anything like that. Yeah.
And I also think that, I mean, for your story, I think it's fantastic that you felt that you could like speak like with the like stranger and like same for him, because there is like stigma,
Yes,
about
yes,
a
yes,
lot
yes.
of people. And I would say it's getting like better, especially with like the like newer and like younger like generations that are like more like willing to like speak about it.
Hmm.
But I think that more that we can like normalize, we all go like through things. And
Of
yes, there's
course.
like various like levels and like not,
Fair.
that like really like we've all experienced things that are like not the same. But I kind of think of it like physical like health. Like we go like we do like checkups and physicals,
Hmm.
And we kind of see it as a like journey for like physical health. And I think that if we think about that in the same way as like mental health, that it's kind of a
Mm,
totally like normal thing
I
to like
like that. I like
need
that approach.
help and to like seek help. And my dad, he's actually a like social like worker as well. And I remember years ago, like I'm saying, like sometimes like we all just need a tune up.
Hmm.
And I like that because it's like, it's the like stigma of there doesn't like need to be like something that's like wrong with you, or like you don't need to be like, well, I'm not like bad enough to get help. Like sometimes like we all just need some help, and it's it can be as like simple as like speaking to a therapist or a friend. So
Love that answer. I want to dig into the heart of your work.
mhm.
What inspired you to co-found Cowtown Friends of Fort Worth Animal Care and Control, and how does that tie into your personal and professional journey?
Yeah. So I actually started volunteering at shelters in 2008.
Okay.
So I adopted my like first dog like from the shelter. And this was like at a like large shelter in Virginia. Um,
Oh, okay.
but it became very clear to me. I mean, and to be fair, I had never really stepped foot in like into a like shelter before.
Mhm.
And so when I like went to go like find a dog, I was completely like overwhelmed by the number of like dogs and like the number of like cats and things like that. But also just by the like staff and like volunteers who really had like so much heart. And so I've been like volunteering like very steadily since 2008. I've fostered probably over like 50 dogs.
Wow.
I've adopted like 3 dogs like from the shelter. And so it's really been like a large like part of my life for years. And so I moved here to Texas in 2018 in like January. And probably by like February, I like showed up at the shelter and I was like, what are the ways I can help? And
Okay.
so I started like once again, like learning the shelter system and like volunteering. And that's when like I met like several friends, two of which and I just kind of like very like quickly started to speak about the like shelter staff is doing like so much with
Mhm.
frankly like very little. And so trying to think of like the ways that like we could support them. And it just kind of fell together in that we're like, we should start like a group, and we're like, we should start like a nonprofit. And we didn't really know like that much about it. But like, you know, like we were like savvy, like
Mm.
we like were very like motivated.
The drive was
The
there.
drive was
The
there.
drive was there.
And so we spoke to the shelter of like, if we were to like form like a group, like what would like you all want? And they said that there were a lot of like rescues, which were fantastic at like taking like the dogs like from the shelter so that it was like less like overcrowded. But they said, but what we like really need sometimes is that the like city, there are like certain things that like they can do and certain things that they can't. Or if they like want to
Hmm.
like go and like buy something, sometimes it's a like 6-month process.
For an adoption?
Or no, just to like, if they are like we want to buy like ceiling fans, so it's like not as hot.
Oh, okay.
They have to go through like city like vendors. They have to get like multiple quotes.
Wow.
It's a
Okay.
process.
Okay.
And at that time, we also found out that if you were to like say, I want to donate to the like shelter, and you like went online, it actually goes to a fund for the like city. And so there's no real like guarantee that your like donation would really go towards the animals.
This specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so kind of with like all of that, we formed Cowtown Friends. And like what we do is we are the like fundraising like partner like for the shelter. So we like just work with the like one shelter. And we do like fundraising, like an outreach. And that way when the shelter staff comes to us and says like, hey, like we need this, it's not in the like city's like budget line,
Mhm.
like we can say, sure, like we got it. And so we've been able to be very like responsive. And I think that's in part because we formed a like really like strong relationship with the like shelter staff.
I want to also speak onto when you first went into this giant shelter and you saw all these dogs and you saw all these cats. What was that feeling like? Was there a feeling of I want to take all these animals home with me? Was
Hmm.
there a feeling of I want to be the hero and kind of get these animals away from this environment at least?
I think at first it was just shock.
Okay.
I think that if you've like never stepped foot into a like city shelter, I think you should. Um,
It's a humbling
it is.
experience. Yeah.
But so at first it was just kind of shock. And I will say, I had come from Seattle before like here,
Hmm.
and like the animal crisis was like not as like severe. Like the shelters are like not as full. There's not as like many animals. And so when I like moved like here, it just was really a like new experience. And yes, at first I'm like, I need to like save them all. But I also know that I'm like one person. And what I've actually found is that, and I mean, this is like starting back from like 2008 when I started, that actually volunteering in the shelter makes me feel less like obligated to like adopt them all because that's like my like way of like helping and serving
Yeah. Okay.
without like necessarily like living at home with like 600 animals.
Okay.
And
Fair.
so,
Completely
yeah,
fair.
I mean, because I would.
Yeah.
And
would
so I
too.
think like the ability to see that there's like lots of like ways to help, and it's not like necessarily that you need to like adopt or like foster, but you can like volunteer, like you can go in and like you can be a like photographer and like videographer, things like that.
Okay.
There's so many like ways to help that if like you're someone who is like, I don't need like more like animals at home, there's so many like ways to help. And so I think for me, like that's what kind of keeps like me at bay at least.
I love that response. I asked that as a precursor to this question about the relationships people have with
Mhm.
animals. My next question for you, Dr. Litt, is what's the science or theory behind the human animal bond when it comes to emotional regulation and psychological resilience?
Yeah. So I mean, I would say there's not one like solid like theory on it. There's a like lot of things that can go on. And this can be just from like kind of more like chemistry in the brain. So when you are like around like animals, research shows that like you release more like oxytocin, which is a very like
That's
calming and
that's the love
relaxing.
hormone, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like love and like calming and things like that. I mean, you
Mm.
can see now like
Oh, they're
like
out.
they're asleep and like I feel like more relaxed. They also
Okay.
show that when like you're with like animals, your cortisol, which is the like stress hormone, that gets lowered.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of on more of a like biological level, but there's also like research to show that just the companionship,
For sure.
but also like the like need to feel like you are like needed and to take like care of something, is very good for your like mental like health. And I remember a study that I read in graduate school that like stood out to me,
Mm.
where they gave just some sort of a like house plant to people living in like senior citizens.
I think I heard
you
of this
know,
one. Yeah.
um, and just like taking care of the like plant, they like lived longer, they felt like happier, things like that. And so if
Mm.
that can like happen because you feel like you are like responsible like for the plant, thinking about these guys, something like similar, I think can happen. And then I would say for me too, because of like volunteering, like I've met some of my like very best friends. And so it's also, I think, a like way to form a community too, which kind of
Definitely.
going to like what we were speaking about, like when we started, the sense of like connectedness is there. And so I think a lot of people, when they like volunteer, they can also like find that. So it's not just about taking care of the like animals, but it can also then kind of like take like care of yourself too.
That also speaks to just how we're kind of programmed to be in communities, to
Hmm.
be in groups. I
Exactly.
am all for one about my personal space. I love my little doses of isolation. But like over this past weekend, I got to spend some time with my family. My brother came from Colorado, and it was also my father's birthday on
Oh, nice.
Memorial Day. And just, I don't know, a little bit of nostalgia, just being
Mhm.
outside. We got the cookout going, we got the meat on the grill, we got kids playing soccer in the yard, and we're all just kind of having fellowship and just talking,
Yeah.
laughing. And I will say the one little piece that was missing was my dog baby Bandit. We had to
Oh,
put him down 2 years ago due
sorry.
to
Yeah.
cancer. But in response to like the community aspect of it, all of my problems, they were still present, but I wasn't thinking about
Mhm.
them. I was truly present in the moment that we were having together as a
Exactly.
family, as community, as friends, and as just people still kicking it. We're still out here, you know?
Yep, exactly. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Leading to my next question, in your experience and research, what are some common challenges people face when attempting to maintain their mental health? And how can social work professionals
Mhm.
like yourself help bridge those gaps in access, awareness, and stigma?
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on three like super important things. There is certainly for a lot of people a lack of like access, and whether that's like physical like access, or like knowing like where to like find like find the like resources.
Mm,
It could be a like financial, sort of like barrier. So I think first we just need to like acknowledge those that there are certainly people out there who like want the help. They just don't really like know like where to start. And so I think that is something that social work is really fantastic at. Is really like knowing what those like resources are and connecting people to them. Um, these, and then you mentioned like stigma. And we already like spoke about like that as well. But I think it is so important, um, because a lot of people, and some of it is definitely like generational. Some of it is cultural, and
I know that
so
one. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that as that like people in like social work field, the more that we can really like know that and like acknowledge it,
Mm,
then we can like be more effective at like navigating that, because there are like so many ways that people who like want care like they can't necessarily go out like and get it.
mhm.
And so I think just kind of spreading like awareness, like speaking about it, so there's like less like stigma, and
That's one for sure.
yeah, and just like really being like willing to listen to, you know, to the like individuals about what sorts of like barriers like are like there for them.
Hmm. So, in other words, being intentional and practicing empathy
Exactly. And
and
compassion and
compassion
understanding.
and seeing. And I will say it's easier for some than others,
Mhm.
especially with the cultural upbringings.
Mhm.
I know, at least in my personal experience, sometimes people may want to help, but they have their own baggage that they have that doesn't allow them to
Mhm.
be there for the other person. So in their attempt to kind of hold on to their own, the little bit they have left, it may come off as dismissive or it may come
Right.
off as condescending at times. But I think it's, I think you hit on something really critical that everyone that kind of has their own baggage in a way. Everyone kind of has their own, everyone has their own scars.
Some of it
Mm,
is just your like family. And so there are certainly
mhm,
like people like that grew up in like families that are not very like open to like speaking about it. They have certain like thoughts about how it's like weak if like need like help or whatever. And so giving people a like safe space to be able to like learn that that's like not the case, and
mhm.
like it is like something like we can speak about, I think is very is very like valuable for the field.
I know you spoke about access. What are some ways that local agencies or institutions like UTA can better integrate or promote animal based support systems in mental health work? I know at the beginning of this month, we had a pretty cool puppy yoga
Yeah.
event. Yeah, could you talk to us a little bit about the puppy yoga event and how other
Yeah.
institutions like UTA can
Mhm.
help with mental health?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the like yoga like event was like so much fun, right? Because it's like puppies and yoga and community
And outside, it was
and
nature.
outside. It was nature.
It
I
was a
mean,
beautiful day that day too.
yeah, I
Very
mean, it's
sunny.
like
Yeah.
fantastic. But I think at the like core of it, what it is, it's like one way to kind of make it fun to think about like wellness and like mental health. And so there's
Mhm.
a lot of like people that like may not necessarily take the time to like slow down on their own, and think of like, what do like I need? Do I need to relax? But you throw in things like this, and it's, then you'll have more like people that are like willing to like slow down and engage. And so I think that, things like that, I think even just, there are like ways for like schools or like organizations to like go out and like volunteer at the shelter. Things like that I think are like really like useful as well. Cause again,
Hmm.
it's a sense of like community. It's stepping like away from your desk, like taking a break.
Definitely.
And so I think that, like the more schools can really encourage that and
Hmm.
say it's like fine to like step away and like take a break. And we like want you to like volunteer. We want you to like relax. Like we want you to like step outside at like 3 in the afternoon and just like get some fresh air.
Yeah.
I think steps like that are small, but I think that they can be like really valuable in the long run.
Absolutely. You couldn't have tied a better bow on that. I really love that. Um, how can the broader public support organizations like Cowtown Friends, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, we support the like Fort Worth Animal Shelter,
Hmm.
and and I say they, I mean, really, it's like the entire like country.
Hmm.
Like we're in like a crisis. There are so many animals, and so we need so much help. And so, yes, that can be like adopting, but it can also be like fostering.
Hmm.
It can be like volunteering. So we need people to like walk dogs, to do like photography. You can also go to the shelter and you can check out like a dog like for the day for a like field
Yeah, yeah. I
trip.
remember you telling me
And
that.
it's
Yeah.
great because it's really fantastic for you, right? So it's like you can go out, you can get like a dog for the day, you can like go on a hike, you can like, like be outside, like and relax. But there's also like research to show that for the like animals, even like 1 hour that they're like not in the shelter, their like stress hormones, like they also like relax and go down.
Okay. Because
So it's mutually beneficial.
yeah, I remember asking that during the puppy yoga event when you mentioned that, and it doesn't, because I always came from the approach that it would have a negative
Mhm.
effect to kind of tease the animal in a way that
Right.
we're gonna let you out, but then we're gonna bring you back in this horrible place.
And I mean, I like certainly thought that as well.
Mhm.
But like there is actually like science where they tested their, I think it was their cortisol, and
Mhm.
they showed that even like 1 hour, it like lowered it. They were like less stressed, like they felt better. Um, so there's that, but also like the more that you can like go out, even if it's an hour, like or three,
Mhm.
they're more likely to get like adopted because like they can be seen like not in a shelter environment.
Exposure,
You
yeah.
can stick like little silly things on them. And so we find that it's just like really like fantastic for like exposure.
Mhm.
And to me, that's actually one of the things that I think we need like the most like help with is just people being like aware like of like
Mhm.
what the like city shelter is like facing and what the like needs are. And so I would encourage people to follow us, to follow Cowtown Friends. We are on like Facebook and like Instagram. Like we have like a website. We do at least like one event like a month.
Mhm.
And I think sharing that, just so that there's like awareness of that, and then like volunteering at the shelter. Like we need people. Yes, we need like money and like donations, things like
Of
that. But
course.
really, the most like valuable like resource is
People.
people.
I love that. Well, we're coming around the corner of our episode, Dr. Litt. I
Hmm.
have one final question
Okay.
for you. Finally, what's one story or moment
Mhm.
that stands out to you that reminds you just how impactful animals can be in a person's journey toward healing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna like make this like about myself. um, but so I moved here, like I said, in 2018,
Mhm.
with a dog that I had had since 2008. He went through, let's see, he went through the last 2 years of like my PhD with me.
Oh, wow.
He then like moved to like Seattle for my postdoc and then like my like first job and then like he moved here. So I mean, so we spent 14 like years with each other and
Wow.
I mean, so a very like large aspect of my life.
Wow. Yes.
And he passed away in 2021. And it was very, very hard. And for about the first like 3 weeks, probably to like a month, I was like, I don't want to volunteer. I was like, it's going to be like too sad. Like I'm not like ready. I don't want to like adopt a dog like just because I'm sad. And so I like stepped away. But I think my like friends, and this is kind of going back to the like community aspect, they were like you don't like seem like yourself. You know, they're like, we can tell that something is like missing. And so they kind of slowly encouraged me, like, go back to the shelter, like step foot in. And I was really like skeptical. I was like, I'm not ready. And then the very first time like I stepped in, I ended up taking a dog home to foster. She was terrified and skinny and scared, and something just said like, I need it, you know, like she needs to come home. And she ended up staying with me for about 2 months, and she was great. And when I first took her like home, I definitely felt a little like detached, I guess. I was like, this is like my foster dog, you know, like she's over here, I'm here. But then I was like, oh yeah, like I really do like miss that there's like a dog in my life. And that she was like making me like wake up and like go on a walk, you know, things like that. It became very clear that she was not going to be like my dog. But she at least like taught me that I was like ready again, and that I could like love a dog again, and that I like needed like a dog in my life. And so once she was adopted, then I was like, I think I'm ready. And I ended up kind of like meeting like a few dogs, seeing what was right. And then like I ended up with my current like heathen, who is, I mean, she was like recently like pregnant. She was skinny. She was scared. She had scars. And so I think we actually like, she helped like me a lot heal, but I think too, like I did same for her.
Yeah, it was a two-way benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a two-way benefit. And as you're describing these things, Dr. Litt, it almost comes off as a sense of worthiness to be able to take care of another life, let it be a dog or something. But I don't know, can I ask, is it in some ways that you kind of see yourself in this animal, and then animal in return kind of saw the way in you, and you both kind of took a chance on each other, you know, for lack of a better words.
Yeah. And I would say that, you know, because like, you know, like, I mean, like that, like first dog, it was like 14 years. And so I felt very much like really trying to like figure out like, what is my life like without him? And like, really like, who am I, you know? And so realizing that it was really part of my like identity to like volunteer and to like be a like dog owner. I think I didn't realize like how much that had really been in kind of like internalized for me. And so when I started to like volunteer again, like, you know, like an adopt, you know, I think there was just like something that I was like, I felt very like whole again.
I love that.
You know, and like I said, I had probably gone on like 5 like meets with other dogs, and like, they were great, you know, and I was like, they're nice dogs.
Kind of like dating.
Yeah, it was like dating, kind of, we're going out, had a lot of like first dates, but not like a second date. And then I met my current girl, and there was just like something.
Click.
Yeah. And I remember I like sat there and I just like started to like cry, and I was like, this is the one. And I just think there was like something, and again, it's not that I don't know if it was like fate or whatever, but I think it was like meant to be in a way that she was like my dog.
I love that. I think we can end it right there.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Dr. Litt, for this conversation. Thank you again for bringing these fur babies for
Look at
everyone
them all
to hang out
snuggled up and tired.
Yeah, they took a power nap after running around after about
it's hard to be
10,
a puppy.
15 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard
I'm
to
sure
be a puppy.
it is. To be cute and fluffy
I know.
all the time, 24/7. I think it's a hard job.
Exactly.
But yeah, as we're closing out, is there any way students or volunteers can get connected with Cowtown Friends? Is there a website that we can link and kind of plug in your organizations in?
We are just at www.cowtownfriends.org. From there, you can see our social like media, things like that. You can also like reach out to me. We can set up like volunteering. You can do some sort of like a group day, you know, where like students can come out, like faculty and staff can come out, things like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for this conversation. Thank you again for speaking on the impact of animals and pets for mental health awareness. As a courtesy, we also have a goodie bag.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. What's this? Thank you. Got swag? They're like, we're too tired for swag.
Or maybe
That-
chew toys for them.
Yeah, right?
actually.
That's this.
Well, all right. My name is Douglas Gutierrez. I'm here with your guest, Dr. Dana Litt. This is Courtyard Conversations.